Is it true that Chinese manufacturers don't have the same standards?
The fact is not controversial, but the rationale behind it is still argumentative. The motive for American companies to relocate their production to China is in the pursuit of cheaper labor and, I should say, paradoxically, lower environmental standard.
You think the Americans are seeking cheaper products by having lower environmental standards?
That's right. So because any business has the instinct to externalize their cost, and the Chinese firms, they have been operating on a lower standard at home, and they are used to it. And sometimes they are not really informed. I interviewed a number of business executives, particularly in the second and third tier cities. They don't even know there is a SA 8000 or ISO 26000. So therefore, so there is a cultural gap, of course, but there is also different expectations because you face different environment.
So some American companies, many of them, define a set of supplier standards for labor standards, for environmental, and try to, quote, enforce them on the Chinese. Is that the right process? Some of them are even frustrated with the inability to enforce them effectively. When the inspectors are not there, that things revert. Is that a problem?
I think the initiative is in the right direction. However, the enforcement is also very problematic because it is a very complex structure where the U.S. counterpart is there to bear a small portion of the blame. Because first of all, how the Chinese government enforce those standards, particularly the local government, labor departments, and on the other hand, China relatively has a weaker union force to ensure the labor welfare. And on the other hand, there is a discrimination over the identity of those labor forces because people working in the cities or residing in the cities are receiving a higher level of labor treatment versus those migrant workers from the countryside.
So you're saying that you've got patterns within China of enforcing it more selectively at times for the urban workers, but not the migrant rural workers. And then you also still have some skepticism about the motives of the U.S. companies, that they're still pressing for the cheapest products and giving mixed messages to the suppliers?
Well, legally speaking, they have every right to bargain to the skin thin of the profit of those suppliers. That's business. But in the meantime, if you look at this issue from an ethical dimension, when American buyers, Walmart, Apple, etc., they are the biggest guy on the block. So they are there to dictate the business terms. And so their requirement in terms of labor standard, in terms of the process control, is even more effective than the local government because it is them who decide the life and death of many of those smaller suppliers. So therefore there is a general expectation that they will do more and even outstretch their responsibility to ensure that the suppliers are doing the right thing.
One last question.
Yes.
Some Americans worry that we're being perceived as imperialists in the sense of dictating labor standards or dictating environmental standards or dictating processes. Should American companies be worried about that? Is that unethical for them to do that?
I think it's highly ethical to sometimes even to impose on the suppliers because we believe that labor rights are universal issues. it's not a local issue, it's not a cultural difference, it's a respect to human effort, to human dignity. So therefore, to impose on them gradually they get used to it, that means a contribution to human rights in those underdeveloped countries like China. So on the other hand, of course, you can't play hypocrisy. You want higher standard. You want them to incur more expenses to ensure the high standard. But on the other hand, you pull the plug in the bargaining power of those Chinese workers and represented by those smaller managers. So that's not a really
So the
fair.
unethical behavior on the part of the Americans may be, do all of these things to raise your labor standards, but we're not going to pay a cent for it.
That's right.
And putting the Chinese companies in an impossible situation.
So that's the hypocrisy part that many Chinese managers are complaining about. You want us to wear more expensive suits, but to play on, with you on the same stage, but all the bill is on me.
Yes.
So that's a dilemma.
Thank you very much.